within Buddhist cultures, the thing that defines identifying as a Buddhist, and let's just back up and remember that Bud just means awake, right? So if you feel somehow a little strange about being a Buddhist, that's fine, don't be a Buddhist. Just be an awakeist. It's the same thing. But in what defines being an awakeist is refuge, right? The refuge in the triple gem. And I imagine plenty of you are familiar with that, what that is. But maybe some of you, I'm pretty sure some of you are not familiar and have maybe barely or never even heard. Well, the triple gem or the refuge, what? So that's how I'd like us to begin the day, in taking refuge. What does refuge mean? Refuge means a safe place, a sanctuary, a shelter. You go walking in the mountains, they have refuges in the mountains where you can shelter from the storm. So the idea that the triple gem, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, being refuges, they're like, trustworthy places to shelter from our own crazy minds, mostly. Buddha means awake. So that can be refuge in, it's often taken to be the historical Buddha, or the possibility for one's own awakening. But most essentially, refuge in Buddha means to rest into the fact that right now we're awake. We're awake. And that rather than being caught up in all our stories and our interpretations and our reactions and our abstractions and our distractions, right, we can keep just orientating to the fact that I'm awake. Awake in the midst of all this, and letting the natural, fundamental, imminent, immediate awakeness, right, of our own consciousness, the awakeness, if you're in any doubt whether you're awake, if you can hear my voice, you must be awake. If you're having, in fact, any experience at all, any time, how can you be having any experience? Because the fundamental, receptive, luminous quality of mind is awake enough that experience registers. And life is just experience, right? There is only experience. You cannot ever have a non-experience. Right? Can you point to a non-experience? If you can say, no, that wasn't an experience. Well, if you can point to it, you experienced it. Right? So there's only ever experience. And any time there's experience, there's the awakeness that's knowing the experience. So even though we say, I was awake and then I wasn't awake, I became aware and then I wasn't aware, and we understand what we mean by that because we're pointing to the way our attention can get caught up and lost in various ways. But actually, most fundamentally, this awakeness is never elsewhere. This awakeness is never inaccessible. It's never more than a mind moment away. Never more than a moment's recognition away. So it's, awake. Already awake. Already awake. Rather than sitting down to try to be aware. No, already awake. Buddha. And then Dharma means the way things are, and the fact that despite our wishes and preferences, despite our pulling and pushing around against our experience, most fundamentally, it's always true that right now, it's like this. Things are perfectly like this. It's not to say that things are perfect. They're very, 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 very far from perfect. Right? But they're perfectly like this. Body is perfectly like this. Mind is perfectly like this. World is perfectly like this. And so it's an invitation. A refuge in Dharma is an invitation to come into relationship, right? Felt relationship, real relationship with the fact that it's like this. It's like this invitation to meet life the universe, experience, right? To meet life on its own terms. And that's so relieving, rather than meeting life through the lens of struggling with all the ways in which I think it could or should be different. Dharma, kind of fluid relationship, wide awake relationship, free relationship with the way things actually are. From which to then see, okay, well, what might skillful action be? And then third refuge is Sangha. Sangha traditionally means community, and most traditionally means that community of practitioners with which one has some shared relationship. So we traditionally say, we're sitting here together as Sangha, community. Sang means together. But more essentially than that, a refuge in Sangha isn't just a refuge in other people who think the way I do or practice the thing I do. No, refuge in Sangha means that to sense into that togetherness, that non-separation, the fact that actually we are always and completely in a Sangha of all beings. No, to recognize that you're not apart from life. Because we often feel apart in some way. We feel somehow lonely or alienated or cut off or different. And there may be various, we may have political differences and social differences and all from people. We might have biological differences, and etc. But while we need to respect those things, and they're important, most fundamentally, the refuge is in sensing our non-difference. That's where compassion comes from. That's where the feeling of being at home comes from. That's where this capacity to really know our total belonging, comes from. That sense that, we're actually supported by that totality of belonging. Air is breathing us. Our heart is pumping on its own, earth is holding us up. Sky is all around. It's not to deny all the ways we can feel some sense of non-belonging, and like I say, in a social context or whatever. But the refuge, right, the relief, the shelter of orientating to total belonging. So Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, those are the three refuges. And traditionally in a period of practice, one opens a period of practice by chanting the refuges. So I just thought we'd do that. We'll do some chanting this afternoon, and we'll chant something much, much, much simpler than the refuges, so you don't need to remember it all. So I just thought this morning we'll chant the refuges just as a way into some meditation time together. And as a way, as I say, of orientating to the theme, as a way of connecting to our practice ancestry, the many generations of people like us that have kind of recognized that which is beautiful in these practices, that which is liberating, and have kind of chanted these words as a way of leaning into that quality of refuge, to remembering, we're awake. Life is like this. We're part of and belonging to everything. And letting that be the ground of the way we practice. So let's see how we get on. And there's a little phrase I'll just chant at the beginning which kind of evokes the fact that we're offering the refuges together. Andamayanti saranagamana padang banamase Buddhang saranang gacchami Buddhang saranang gacchami Dhammang saranang gacchami Dhammang saranang gacchami Sanghang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi. Dutiyampi. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi. Dutiyampi. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi. Tatiyampi. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang